Yeah.
Awesome. So we're live. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it rolling.
Awesome. Well, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Health Made Simple show. I'm here with our host, Dr. Bart Precourt, who has been a healthcare practitioner for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, acupuncture, kinesiology, functional nutrition and supplementation, and lab testing, all out of his clinic, Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida, as well as virtually all over the world. He's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a cutting-edge health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to take their health to the next level. He's worked with athletes and celebrities all around the world and is here for us tonight. And we're going to kick off by sharing your top takeaways from this health conference you have been at. So maybe recap, where did you go?
So I was down in Orlando and at this huge convention, not too far from Disney World. And although I've never actually been to Disney World, it's from all the signs that I could see and all the action going on, my guess we were really, really close to Disney World. And
even I've been to Disney World, Bart. Come on.
I know, ridiculous. And I live here in Florida and I don't know, it's weird, but nonetheless, it's usually an event that has about 4,000 people at it. And this time there's about 2,500. So it was really nice to just see people out and about, and people were being mindful. There was a lot of healthy actions, and it wasn't just mayhem. So it was as mindful as you can get for people being around, around that many people. What's really cool, Karen, is that usually there's about 100 or so or more. No, wait a minute, 300. No, 400 vendors are typically there. Yeah, so it's like the Mecca. So one of the reasons I love this, and usually my wife goes with me every time. We bring a dog. We make almost like a little vacation out of it. This is a little bit different. I went down alone. So all these vendors are there. So it gives me an opportunity in a 4-day span to literally do a speed run of all the latest and greatest. So this is one of the ways that every technology company, everything from literally innovative softwares, but every CBD company there, all the major vitamin supplement herb companies are there. There's some incredible equipment coming out nowadays with sound wave technology for pain management. There's so many good things. EMF stuff. There's just so many cool things, different air filters, and just super, super cool stuff. So it gives me this great opportunity to just kind of go in, dig in, and you got to boogie because there's so many. You got to pick and choose which ones you're going to spend any time with. In the middle of I'm going to all kinds of classes. I think
That's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I attend 10 different classes while I was there. Some better than others, but nonetheless. And Karen, I spoke. This is my first year that I spoke at this convention.
That's amazing. Big high five to that. How exciting.
Yeah, so that was exciting. It was you typically have to kind of put your name in your name in the hat, and and kind of hope that you can get on the panel or something like that. So it didn't happen that way. They came to me and asked me if I would speak, and this year was about the immune system. Lo and behold, right? So I guess there's a little backstory to this that makes it even funnier. So I get asked probably at least 6 months ago if I wanted to speak, if I would be willing to speak. And I love speaking. Yet I was like, I don't know, man, whatever. Then I decided to do it. So I was like, once I make my commitment, I'm going to go all in and give it my best effort. And they were like, well, what topic do you want? And this is when 6 months ago, it was, my thought was by the time this is going to happen, COVID is going to kind of be behind us, and talking about the immune system is going to be overkill, almost I was in my brain, I was like, this is going to be beating a dead horse, right? And then I said, I'll be happy to speak on, one of my favorite things is, adrenals and hormones or gut health, those are my specialties, right? And they came back and they said, no, we want you to do the immune system. And I was like, all right, so immune system it was, and I'm really glad that I did. It was the right thing at the right time, and I'll say that I was in my right space. If you've ever had one of those moments when I call it being in the flow, everything was stacked up against me, I think if a lot of our listeners, and welcome aboard everyone, and I'll talk to you in just a moment here, but this is kind of fun. So often, Karen, when I travel, I'll do like a live Facebook and I'll show all the things I bring with me.
Oh, yes.
Literally bring my air filters. I plug in these air filters to clean out. The hotel rooms are like the dirtiest things in the world. There's no fresh air. You got thousands of people in them, and they're just recirculating the air and the chemicals. So got all that going on. There's weird lighting in them. I bring my pillow. This time, Karen, I drove over there. I brought a big old Yeti cooler. I brought, 12 juices with me. Like I have morning celery juice, my green juices all day long. There's a Whole Foods, it's like 3 miles away. I brought my own coffee pot. I had my organic coffee, butter, everything. I was trying to literally just keep my chi in flow and keep it in the rhythm, because my big challenge when I travel is I don't sleep well in hotels.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. So the night before, say I was speaking on Saturday, Friday night, I slept like 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Not enough.
Just brutal. And like, I had to get it out of my mind. And I was like, all right, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm built for this and whatever.
Suck yourself up.
Yeah. So I decided to stay in rhythm. And I went to the gym that morning, did a little bit of what I could, just get my body flowing, just getting the energy flowing. And when game time came, fortunately, you know what I found? It was just, we do this every week. We talk health every week. I've been talking health for 25 years. In this past 18 months, especially, I've been talking immune system every day. So that part naturally flowed. I had a great audience. They're really, in tune, and it was really the right setting. And the doctors that we're, speaking to, this is their first year out of practice. Like imagine being your first year being this year, and it's a different, playing field. And then I had and women there that were in practice for 45 years, 50 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Servants of society. So really good experience for me. So with all that being said, the takeaways. I'm sure every individual there would have different takeaways, but these are my 3 kind of top takeaways. Number one, and I think this was pretty collective when I observed what was taking place and everything, that in the big picture right now, just across the board, I know we can speak for our country, probably the world, we are overlooking foundations of health.
Yeah.
Is our immune system. And so I felt really good about the fact that I was the one doing the big talk on the immune system. And you know what we didn't talk about, Karen, which was really nice and refreshing? Like, this is a good example of just how in life you don't have to be against something to be for something. So there was no talk about vaccine being good or bad. That was not the conversation. It was 100% boom onto let's create stronger human beings. Let's level up. And that had nothing to do with the vaccine. And that was really refreshing. And, again, that's, it's nice when you're around like-minded people that are thinking like, how do we advance human health? How do we continue to help our brothers and sisters? How do we continue to just, get humans stronger? And you and I have been talking about it from day one, that the answer is we've got to get stronger. And all the other stuff clogs our vision. So, and I get it, like it's emotional and all this other stuff. But so that was number one. And, that number one is really, we've lost sight of the foundation. And without repeating a 2-hour lecture, I'll give the foundations here. And it really meant this, that it is all about the host. We are the host. And there's in the past we've heard about, is it the germ or the host? Is the germ the host? And when we think about it, the germ goes to 2 people. One person gets sick, the other doesn't. So what is it really, the germ or the host? And we know, some germs are worse than others, but they'll affect some germs, or some viruses will affect more people than others. But at the end of the day, it's the host. So we have these 2 parts to our immune system, one called the innate immune system. We can't talk about this enough, because this is foundationally where we begin making the mistakes. And Karen, this is the stuff like having a runny nose, a sore throat, a cough, mucus, watery eyes, clogged ears. That's all part of your innate immune system. That's your body's way of defending yourself. the biggest part of that is our skin. So those things like hives and other conditions we see, that's your body just trying to defend itself through the skin. But we're taught from a very, very young age to ignore and actually kind of defy our innate immune system, which means that when we get watery eyes, we're going to take something to dry them up. And when we get a throat, we're going to take something to make that go away. We get a runny nose, we take a decongestant. So everybody, like, maybe not the tribe here tonight, but we're all guilty of like foundation number one, let's listen to the body. So that's number one. And then the other part of the immune system is what we call the adaptive immune system. And this is really important. This foundation is so critical to understand moving forward, because the adaptive immune system means that when you are exposed to something, you adapt to it.
Yeah.
We're forgetting that. The conversation is lost. And that would then say, well, listen, maybe I'm not strong enough to adapt. Then it should, beckon the question, how do you get stronger? Like what weapon do you need to fight? And that's what I dove into big time in my talk, like things like calcium, like that's part of your immune system, vitamin C and D and zinc. So we're adding value to why and what kind of role they really, really play in the body. And I think really, and this was collected. So there's, 2,500 people, doctors, when really this is the message. We have lost sight of the foundation. So, and hopefully with everyone listening tonight, and we're live on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
So everyone, again, I get that there's all this trauma about all of these things, vaccines and masks and all this stuff, but all of it is a secondary conversation. Every last bit of it. Humans will survive because we're either stronger or we're not. And we talk about, collectively. And, when we are collectively making weaker human beings because we're not exposing and then creating and essentially applying the weaponry that we need. So that's a huge one. And a little later we can have our whole show on that again if we wanted to.
No, but I love that you started there because especially with this group, because it actually, everything you're talking about is relevant whether you took the vaccine or not, or whether you're going to or not, or whether there's a different virus or not, or whether we're like, it doesn't matter where we're at, what we've done, what our choice is. It's actually a good foundation for everybody. Yeah, I think you've got someone snoring on your lap, hey?
Yeah.
Or over there.
They're snoring over there. And hey, George. I don't know. I got a lot of dogs. Yeah. So I mean, it's a good thing that everybody can start with, right? Yeah. Just woke her up.
You can hear her quite like she's loud. She does a good job snoring. She's got no issues with sleep. She's got her foundations down.
She does. It's a great point you make, Karen, about the fact that it's when we're talking about the immune system, it's irrelevant to whether or not you're vaccinated or not. In fact, you could argue both parties really, really, really need their immune system. So we really want to emphasize that tonight, that no matter where your position is on those secondary topics, the number one thing that we all need to continue to focus on, because myself and many other health experts, if I put myself in a health expert category, none of us thought this should be 18 months in the making. None of us did.
I know, right?
Not a single one of us. No one said, this is going to be a year or two or whatever. Not with any like real rationing behind it. And if we did, we would have all said the same thing. Oh boy, we better hunker down and get strong. Yeah. So, all right. Number one. Number two, and this was a little bit like a repeat of that, yet it will kind of plays in that. It was very interesting. The statistics right now out about people who are dying from COVID. This was a big one. This was a huge study, about 8,000 people, Karen, and that 95%. So everyone listen close. If you're on Facebook, if you're here joining us with Zoom, we love having you guys here. Listen to this part close. 95% of COVID deaths, those people had 4 comorbidities. That is a significant number. That really, really lets us know who's at danger. And that is also kind of sidestep. So really what was the conversation? Again, it wasn't about vax or not vax or anything, just the fact So Karen, let's just say, and I don't know the number right now, so I hope I'm not going to get yelled at for this, but I think maybe let's say it's 300,000 total deaths in our country from the beginning. And I think it's something like that. 95% of them had 4 comorbidities or more. What is that telling us about our culture? What is that telling us about our society and our nation? We're sick.
4 it's not 1, it's like 4. That's quite a lot of comorbidities.
And you can take that conversation and that statistic and go anywhere with it. Well, I'm safe, so I don't need to do this or I don't need to do that. But really, we got to step back and look and go, this is our neighbors, this is our friends, this is our family, this is our coworkers. 95%. So only 5% of people actually just died straight up from the virus. 5%. You know, and that means it's not a pandemic. That means it's not even a big deal. Yes. So 95% of people had 4 comorbidities or more, which again, it just kind of screams from the mountaintops.
We got to get healthy. Yeah.
That's
prioritize this stuff. Especially the good thing about having the focus on prioritizing this stuff as well is things that we can control. Right? There's so much out there right now that we can't control, but we can control if we're taking our vitamin C or not. We can control what we're eating for our meals. We can control, we're taking our zinc. Those are things that we can just do every day.
Yeah, well said. And that's really the beautiful takeaway from it. So even if you have 4 comorbidities, and the top ones were heart disease, anxiety, and obesity. I think flip that over. When obesity first, anxiety was number 2, heart disease number 3. I forget what the 4th one, but it doesn't matter. Those 3 right there.
Diabetes, maybe?
Yeah, probably diabetes, exactly.
Yeah.
Those 4, we've talked about strategies for all of those on this show.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about like this cures this, but strategies to help your body, your systems, organs, and glands of the body, so you don't develop those named diseases. And so when I walked away, I think today's, like some people were like, wow, what's the big secret from the weekend? The big secret is the thing that we have buried. And we buried some truths. And the truth is that the human body is an amazing, amazing entity. It is an incredible healing machine. Yet we are the bearers of this. We are, the captains, the stewards of this body that we have, every single one of us. And it is our sole responsibility to literally level it up. And the beauty is, it's not as hard or it's not as impossible as we might think. So those are the last takeaway, and I don't want to forget this one. Total different topic, but really important to understand is that there's a major opioid crisis in our country.
You had some crazy stats.
Yeah, I don't suspect you have it as much in your country or many others. Opioids are used, well, it's common because we just usually lead the way in these things.
We're usually pretty close, if not right behind you.
We consume some insane number, like 80% of all the opioids in the world in our country. Florida being one of the highest consumers of the entire world right here in Florida. Opioids are, for the most part, Karen, they're used for pain management. And they usually start on pain management, and then that's how people, when they can't get their medicines, and I'll list a couple of them in just a second here, because there's a good chance you don't know, but you have an opioid in your house right now, not knowing how addictive it really is. And I'll list some of the names, and you go, wow. But these opioids are the primary leading medication that leads people to heroin.
Wow.
It's the same kind of high that they get, pain relief that they get. So people that can't get the drugs anymore through their doctors, and the doctors say, well, you've had too many, you can't get any more. The only thing that can give them the relief of that, the addiction, is the heroin, and then sometimes fentanyl. And fentanyl is a whole nother drug I don't know a ton about. I just know it's killing a lot of people in our country. So real quickly, the issue with it, we're up to about 90,000 deaths a year. And this is year on year. This isn't just like within 1 year. This is 90,000 a year of drug overdoses, and it's getting more addictions, not less. And so there's some common household medications. Well, morphine is an opioid. That's not really a common household, but Vicodin is, and codeine is, and hydrocodone is. Those are all things that you can go to the doctor, you got shoulder pain, and they'll write you a script, no big deal, here's 20. And next thing you know, you got it for this year's shoulder, next year's back, etc. And what was really, really cool was that they did some monstrous studies that they're working with our government right now and in major insurance companies, showing that the chiropractic adjustment is more effective for short and long-term pain management than these opioids are. So it's they're really pushing a nice big outreach for it, and it's really nice to see some of the men and women in our profession are really like spearheading this, because they've seen firsthand the dangers and the downside of the addictions to it. So it was really nice to see our profession as a whole, the money that they're raising to create this awareness, and the things that they're doing is absolutely amazing.
Oh, that is amazing. And it's good to bring light to it, and especially how many people, only because I think sometimes we think about drug addiction and we don't think, I don't know, we think maybe that couldn't happen to us, or we don't think that we're going to get addicted, but it kind of happens to a lot of really everyday people. You know, it's not that you have to be on the street to have a drug addiction. Like, it's really common, and it's really can affect everybody in kind of all walks of life.
You're 100% right. Like, you know, you look at the athletes that, you know, that pain shoulder, you know, and then we just see the professional athletes that have professional help and all the money to handle it. We're not talking about the high school kids. We're not talking about the kids that are playing D3 ball. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like no one really cares what they do. They just want them back on the field. And for many other reasons, post-surgical, all our veterans coming back that have been injured in war, that's like a huge portion of them. They're all victims. So I'm able to, you know, again, sit through that and learn a little bit about it and bring it here to our, you know, to our show tonight. And just remember that, you know, drug use is, you know, there's a reason you need a prescription for it, because there's always a danger and a side effect. And we have to make sure that we continue to be super aware. And if you do know people that are on those common things, don't sidestep it. You know, check with them. You know, make sure they're not using every day. Most of them are only supposed to be used for like a 3-4 day span, maybe 7 days maximum. I have people that come into my office that are on them, and I've overlooked them too much, but they've been on them for a year, 2 years. Yeah, and they can't get off them. So those are my big takeaways.
Yeah, I love it. I've got a dog bark now. But yeah, I mean, how great to be able to discuss some of that stuff with a group of like-minded people, right? And it's good to be able to bring some of those things, you know, out into the public, as I said. So, love it. Thanks for sharing with us your takeaways. I mean, it's great for you to be able to go to that and bring us back some of the info that you learned and talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got? What questions we got?
Yeah. So moving on from that, we've got a bunch of questions, as we always get. So I want to move into getting some of those questions answered. If anybody else has any more questions as well, if you're on Facebook, feel free to type them in the comments. I'll get them over. If you're here on Zoom, type them in the chat. All right, we've got a first one. I've become super irritable and angry all the time. What test for my hormones should I run?
Okay, well, great awareness for one.
Great awareness, right? Like, a lot of people might stay like this for a long time without ever thinking, hey, is there actually something going on that I can do?
Yeah, you know, and I really mean it, like great awareness, because if you know, you're just like, and it takes a moment to be a little humble about this. And I think we all should like be like, all right, how am I? Like, am I getting edgy? You know, am I snapping a little bit? And you keep blaming on other people for a moment. But if you're being that way in general, like, so whoever is inquiring about, you know, what was it, Karen? Irritable and angry?
Super irritable and angry. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. So I'm this is really bad, but I'm going to assume it's a woman. And it's so bad that I just did that. But I'm going to do that because I actually hear this all the time in my office. Like, I'll have, it's really bad that I did that. But because.
Oh, no, you know, it's also potentially, do you think women also, there you go, now I'm going to make a statement, tend to be a little bit more aware?
100%, and much more humble when it comes to their health.
Like, guys might be angry and irritable for a little bit longer without actually thinking, is there something I need to look at or do? Women potentially tend to be a little bit more like, hey, is there something going on? A little bit more aware of how they are.
So thanks for saving me right there, because yes, that's what just happened. Yeah, men will never acknowledge that, or really, and I get it in my office, and I think I even got it today in my office, where they say that, listen, I'm not normal. Like, this isn't the normal me. And then they'll ask me, what tests do I need to run? So immediately, and I've said this before, when we know we're super out of balance, like, it's not critical that you run labs right in that moment. It's critical that we get back to the foundation. So for that individual, or if you find yourself, listen, irritable, angry, easy to cry, everyone's on your nerves, you're saying these things, you just can't take it anymore. You need time. You need to get away for a minute. Those phrases are telling you that your capacity is you're tapped out. And when that happens, it means we're out of balance. Like, we need to increase the capacity. So immediately, the two biggest things we do, you got to get back to your better diet. Almost always that has begun to slip, and sleep.
Yeah.
If all of like the diet and sleep been off, and you've had life circumstances that have literally started to trigger you more and more, based on the law of supply and demand, you will then throw your hormones out of whack. Then in that scenario, then we say, all right, let's run some labs, and we can run them right from the beginning. And I say that, Karen, only because I already know the foundational beginning moves that will make for someone that's hormonally imbalanced. We got to clean up the diet. We got to get rid of the inflammation. We got to get the sleeping going. The sleep is always going to be a critical part of this. So those are two things we can do right away. Specifically to that, for irritability and for anger, we definitely want an adrenal test. Like the hormones, like the estrogen and progesterone and all those others that are going to come in the blood panel, which I would run the female. We have a female panel that we run. We would do that, but we'd also run a saliva test, a saliva adrenal test. Really, really important, because that capacity for us to handle stress is really an adrenal function. And if the adrenals get tired, they will then kick all of those, especially your progesterone levels. I literally have, I'm going to say thousands of women have come to me and said, I have my lab work done, I have no progesterone. And then I'll say, what does your adrenal gland panel look like? And they go, I have no idea. Well, we can't start treating your progesterone without knowing that, because it could be that your adrenals are toast and your body's stealing progesterone to try to make up with the need for cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So ideally, if to accurately answer that, we'd want to run the female panel, which is blood. We'll get all the other good markers. Even vitamin D is important when it comes to our emotions. But then also the saliva test. And that's a real simple one. You do it at home. You spit in 5 little vials, send those out, and I usually get those results in about a week.
Yeah, awesome. And so if people want to do that adrenal test, can they grab one of those from you?
Yeah, easy breezy. If they're local, they literally can just come by. My amazing team would just hand them one, and they would go home, do it all in one day. So you spit in it, throw it in the fridge, spit in it, throw it in the fridge, and then you mail it out the following day. So try to do it where you're not mailing it over the weekend. So you want to, ideally, if you do it like a Monday or on a Sunday would be best. And even a female panel, we can email a requisite. We can send both of these out to you, where you can come by our office and pick them up.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you can do that with, if you call the office, I've just put the details in the chat. We can send them anywhere and then do a consult on Zoom. Nobody has to be in Florida anymore to be able to work with you.
Correct. Yes. The beauty of Zoom, we can do this anywhere, not anytime, but anywhere. And so we can send them out, and when those labs get done, we can then, ideally that's the best way. If you know you're going to run labs, go get them done, and then get those labs done. They'll send them to my office. I'll get a chance to review all of them, and then we'll sit down. And at that point, we'll then develop a strategy and figure out how we get you from irritable to relaxed, and from angry to happy. Yes.
I love it. And then, so diet and sleep, are there any supplements that would be good as well?
Yeah. So there's, when I hear that, so, and again, I gotta remind everyone, I love labs, and I take a lot of labs, but there's some people I don't run labs on. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's just convenience, whatever it may be. So you don't necessarily have to have them. If that individual, say that's the only history I have right there, and I have anything else, I would clean up their diet. We go to God's garden. Definitely, doing whatever it took to get their sleep right. And I'll give them 3 different supplements. And the 3 supplements I'll give them, one would be a mineral base. Any hormone imbalance will always include some level of minerals being out of balance. And there's something specific I use called Min-Chex. Very specific, especially when there's an emotional component and the deficiency taking place at one time. So absolutely love Min-Chex. It should be in all anxiety protocols, should be in any hormone protocol. So that would be one. We use 6 of those a day. Again, if I'm giving you a protocol, I'm not necessarily treating anything. Just my little disclaimer here. I'm not acting as your doctor tonight. Just good old fashioned information to help you level up your body, systems, organs, and glands. So number 1 would be Min-Chex. There's 3 of them. And these 3, quite frankly, you do this, like you'll notice a change. And the beauty is it's short term, like you'll get quick results. Number 2 is something called Hypothalmex. It ends in an EX. There's a couple products we use from Standard Process, but that one specifically would be the first one that I would use. The reason I use this, Karen, this literally feeds the gland. It's literally the one up like almost between your eyeballs. That's where the gland called the hypothalamus gland is, and that's the mother of all the hormones. So when we know emotionally we're off balance, we know that gland is involved. And so many adrenal protocols will include something to support that. So this is the hypothalamus, and that's really good for anyone. Listen, if you're crying easier than normal, like you're easy to cry, you're easy to irritable, you snap easy, you have a very difficult time losing weight or gaining weight, assuming you're still doing all the other things normal, all of those things are indicative that your hypothalamus gland, your mother of the hormones, is out of balance. So we use that supplement Hypothalmex. And for the first 2 weeks, I give you 9 a day and really kind of jumpstart. And then we go to 6 a day. And we do that for at least 60 days. And then often you don't even need that one. It's like a reset. And then the third one we use is an herb. So remember, anytime we can pair vitamin mineral with the cohesive herb, that's when you really get your best results. So every time you think about like, well, what gland, organ, or system am I working with here? What mineral does it need, or what vitamin, and then also what herb? And for the hypothalamus gland, absolutely best one is ashwagandha.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about it here on here. So I use something like ashwagandha forte. We also use something called ashwagandha complex. The difference there would be I'll use that ashwagandha complex if I think this is adrenal related. It has some other herbs in there that are really conducive to supporting the adrenal glands. So those 3 right there, like if you use Min-Chex, Hypothalmex, and ashwagandha forte, you clean your diet, get some sleep. Like you'll be shocked on like how much more harmony, and some ease and like quality of life will come back. And then the nice thing is like, and then just life is just easier. Like you're not as mad and you're not trying to kill everybody and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's always good. All right. Next question. Eric asks, was there a Q&A at the conference? And if so, what was the biggest question asked of you while you were speaking?
Eric, I didn't do a Q&A. There was a lot of questions. That's an awesome question. There was some humor in it all because I had a slide presentation, which I didn't use. Kept it real. Like we kept it real, especially in my version of it. Trying to think the biggest question I got. Maybe I'll have to come back to that. I didn't have time to do just a live Q&A. Oh, I'll tell you what the biggest question was. It was totally random. And I said this to you earlier. They said, what is your go-to herb?
Yes. What is your go-to herb?
And here's how I'd answer. This is what I would say I think I took some people by surprise on this. Maybe yes or no. And I gave you the example of if I'm stuck in a deserted island and I have an option to bring one herb and either one vitamin or mineral, okay? The herb that I bring is Echinacea, hands down. And so I don't think that surprised anyone there because I talked about how much Echinacea via research, via experience, for clinical data does for our white blood cells, it does for our immune system, it does for vitality. It's so documented on how strong the herb is. And on top of that, The one there's one called Echinacea Premium that comes from Standard Process, the same one they use in the Andrographis complex. It is the strongest dosed Echinacea herb on the planet. Like there is no other product that is available to the public that is stronger than Echinacea Premium pill for pill. So that would be number one. And then the second one, I don't know if this caught people by surprise or not when I said this. They thought it would be something magical, but the full complex vitamin C. And so specifically with what we use here and what I use with Standard Process, something called Cataplex C. And this actually created a big conversation about ascorbic acid. So, and we've talked a little bit about it on this show, and this is another important one for us to understand right now in this time of really wanting to understand how the immune system works. So vitamin C, I say it every day, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. What I really mean when I say vitamin C is the full complex of vitamin C. So those of you that are watching on video and can see this right now, vitamin C basically has many different components that make up the full complex. That complex is what we call an enzyme that's active. It's biologically active in the human body. What does that mean? That means it literally can work as an antioxidant. One of those parts, and many other things than just an antioxidant, one of those parts, let's say my thumb, that part of it is ascorbic acid. Now, when you go to the grocery store or really the majority of all products out there, even the ones that are coming from whole food, they're ascorbic acid. For this example, we'll say that it's 1/5 of what vitamin C really is. And what benefits does it have? It actually has some great benefits. It helps acidify the body. In bacteria and viruses, cancer doesn't like an acidified part of body. But we also know that the stomach can only absorb up to 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid in any given day. So, and I'm recommending 500 to 1,000 milligrams because we're going to burn through some of that. Some of the IVs will be 20,000, 50,000. So what's going on with all that? We're literally peeing it out. Here's the difference though. The reason that I love this product called Cataplex C from Standard Process, it's the one, if I'm running late and I can't take all my supplements, I take a small handful. And really, it's a combination product. So its number one ingredient is veal bone. It's a bone broth product. And then you go through and you'll see bovine adrenal glands, organic alfalfa, organic, all kinds of other vegetables, and bring us everything. The beauty here is this works as an enzyme. And one of the key things, and this is one of the things I was teaching about at the workshop this past weekend. One of the things vitamin C does for us, it's stored in something called your phagocytes. Your phagocytes, their primary job is to break down, eat up, and spit out viruses. If you don't have vitamins, that part of vitamin C stored up that act as an active enzyme, it doesn't do it. So when we talk about vitamin C effective for the immune system, acidifying the body, yes, very effective. But signaling the body to go hunt down and destroy and kill viruses and bacteria, that's different. So if you have vitamin C right now at home, go look at your bottle and look on the back of it. If it says ascorbic acid, 200% of our normal, then look where it came from. If it's just ascorbic acid, and it doesn't say the ingredients, it doesn't say like bone or whatever it may be, most likely it's made in the laboratory and it doesn't act as a signaler. So vitamin C, it's almost like it sits around and it's looking for the bad guys. Literally, this is what it does. It looks around, and the moment it sees them, it sends a message. It's like it whistles, like, hey, and it sends a message to your white blood cells where more of the gang of vitamin C dudes are hanging out inside those phagocytes, those lymphocytes, and then they come gobble them up. If you just have ascorbic acid, that signaling doesn't take place. So this is significant. So that's why those two, echinacea is also a white blood cell builder, which is awesome. So those two combined, that's, I guess, that was a long answer of like what was the big question, but that was
awesome. Hopefully if you're on a deserted island, you've got like maybe some fire and some food and stuff as well. But you've also got your echinacea and vitamin C. You're sad. Love it. All right, good question. Let's move on to the next one. How do I lose weight around my hips and my arms?
Okay, we're kind of still in the whole theme right now of hormones. So
Yeah.
again, we'll make the general assumption that we're eating properly. We're eating from God's garden. Maybe we're incorporating a little bit intermittent fasting, at least 12 hours. For female, maybe 12, 14, maybe up to 16 hours. Males, maybe even a little bit longer. We're doing those things, at least good. We're not having a diet issue causing weight gain. But if it's around the weight, Karen, specifically belly button down to upper thigh, and you're gaining a little weight, there's a female especially, typically that is a cortisol induced weight gain. That's a stress induced weight gain. And what do we do about that? That's one, you might want to run a panel, an adrenal stress index, because having awareness of what your adrenals are doing, producing too much, producing not enough cortisol could be real important. Sleep will be your absolute best friend. Believe it or not, this is one of the ones that are really because of the stress and the poor sleeping, you're gaining and holding weight in that area. So that's typical. If that's where the weight gain is around the hips. Now, you say arms? Do you say their arms? In my
guess, yeah, arms. Yeah.
Okay. My guess is that is probably describing underneath the tricep area, where often we'll see a fair amount of
usually the offender. Yes.
Yeah, that is typical for a thyroid imbalance.
Okay.
Yeah, so in that female panel we talked about that I mentioned a little bit earlier, in that female panel runs a full, literally the full thyroid panel, everything, all 9 markers that we need there. So that's kind of where the direction we can head into that. If you see those two, if you see both of them, if you see the weight around the hips and you're seeing the thyroid panel, we have a hormone dysregulation. And that's very common that they go hand in hand. You have a thyroid issue, you typically have an adrenal or liver or gut issue simultaneously. So they're very, very rarely solo entities. And I say that because it's important that when we're going to treat them, we don't just treat the thyroid with just a thyroid medication. There's usually something else that's involved there as well.
Yeah, awesome. And so then really running the panel and seeing what's behind some of this stuff is what would be the best thing. Is there any supplements or things that would help this person?
This one, if that was the first thing, I would probably tackle the stress component.
Yeah.
Stress, adrenal. Yeah. So what's nice is the one we just talked about, ashwagandha. It helps us increase the capacity for us to manage our day-to-day stress. I'm kind of in the philosophy that let's say your stress is way, way up here, that we're not going to have a lot of success getting rid of the stress. I just find that true.
Yeah.
But how many times are we well, as soon as this is over?
Far too often.
Yeah. So I really think so. It's really about building the body up. So when we're here, it doesn't seem like this stress is that much. So it's, from person to person. That's when I talk about capacity, the capacity to handle and manage more.
Yeah.
And if that becomes the focus, having some good labs, bringing all those things together, so we can really develop a good strategy. But the supplements for that, ashwagandha, phenomenal. We know that kava is a go-to for stress. If we're getting ourselves wound up, it's so easy just to utilize it as a tool to get us through the moment, phenomenal. And then anything adrenal glands. And, we have an adrenal tonic, which I just might happen to have right next to me. Because I use it a lot. So after I get back from an event like this, I drive, collectively, I don't know, over 4 days, I don't know if I got 20 hours of sleep in 4 days. My life doesn't slow down. If I don't give my body more than I was given just a week ago, then I become vulnerable for breakdown. And that is how, folks, that's how we get sick. Not the germ. I've literally made myself more vulnerable. So, my wife will yell at me when she knows how much of my adrenal tonic I took today. She's just no, you can't handle that much. I'm I can, trust me.
Yeah, and I love that, especially because I'm sure we all notice times when exactly the same situation will have happened. Let's pretend it's an email from your boss, just to make it really simple. And one day you like deal with that really well, solutions focus, whatever. Other day, it can be the same email and you just lose it, right? Like it totally is your ability to deal with that, your perception of what that is, that actually ends up making the response to the outside, to the thing that's happening, to the stressor. So the more we can build ourselves up, as you're saying, or the more we can look after our own function, the better we're going to be able to deal with whatever stresses come up.
Yeah, and that's it. That's, and the more we, get into that mindset of this is on me, like, trip, you know what I mean? I slept 4 hours a night for 3 or 4 nights like that. That's on me. I can't blame how, like, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And the result of it, toned it down yesterday. Yesterday was just a rest day. It wasn't a workout day or anything. So
nice. All right. Next question. How quickly does zinc, vitamin C, and D levels get to the proper levels? And how quickly do they drop? So how quickly does zinc, vitamin D take to get up to the proper levels after you start supplementation, I assume? And how quickly do they drop down?
This is a great question. Vitamin D, C, and zinc, all three of them, within 30 days, you can get them to a good level.
Okay.
Now, real important to hear the second part. Vitamin C and zinc, you can have them great today and be empty tomorrow.
Wow.
Almost empty. Within 2 to 3 days, you can lose all your zinc storages essentially, and vitamin C maybe even faster. Yeah. So this is why it's so important. And so thank you, whoever wrote this question. So it's so important for us to understand this. Vitamin C is water soluble. Our body does not make it endogenously. We do not make it inside our body. We need an outside source of it every day. The primary usage of vitamin C in the human body are a couple. One, your adrenal glands. They're the primary users of your vitamin C. So they are helping you manage all stress. That means every negative thought you have, your body is releasing vitamin C into the body, trying to help your skin not break down. That's what aging is. That's the breakdown of collagen. And that is one of the reasons I love this Cataplex C so much, because I'm essentially taking a collagen product every time I take it, which is literally beautiful. So then the other part is every time a bacteria, every time a virus, gets into your body, it is your lymphocytes, your phagocytes, specific type of lymphocyte that goes out and gobbles it up. What lets them do that is the fact that you have vitamin C within those. So your body uses so much vitamin C. I run micronutrient tests. If I run 100, and there's a urine test, and if I run 100, 99, Karen, will be deficient in vitamin C, because you're doing it first thing in the morning. Your body will use it all up.
Yeah.
That shows us how deficient we are, because it's, again, plants and veggies, especially like in fruits and stuff like that. So taking copious amounts of a good full enzymatic, a full biologically active, vitamin C, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So great question. Zinc, and again, very difficult for the body to hold on. It's just a mineral, but the body does not store it well. And really, really important. Like guys, this is so important for us. This is the primary mineral for our prostate. And if we run deficient in that over time, that's one of the things that downregulates the prostate gland. So zinc and vitamin C, both of those within 3 to 4 days minimum. That's for both of them, goners. But you can jack them right back up, which is beautiful. Now, to get them to be more bioactive in the body, steady Freddy over the long haul is really the name of the game. Because just to get them in there, we want your body to be literally learn and remember how to use them. So literally being on zinc for months, low dosage, months at a time is its best mechanism. Now, vitamin D, a little bit different. Vitamin D, we can store. It is a fat soluble vitamin. It's really part of the hormonal system. So you can load that up in your body. So typically, I'd like to be able to tell people that they can, stop taking D during the summer and wait until the fall. But man, I keep taking all these labs, Karen, and people are still massively deficient. So, I would literally want to take them off during the summer, but the results aren't good enough. So I'm keeping people on them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess as we've talked about before, there are things like sunscreens as well when we're outside that block some of that absorption, right? And then people also, a lot of the time we're still indoors a lot. not getting outside and enjoying it enough, really.
Yeah, I literally just spent 4 days of my life inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, inside, like, and I didn't sleep, like, so like it just wasn't like she was just like, what are you doing to me? Why are you doing this? Why am I in jail? Like, stop it.
Yeah. Well, you're back now. You've got your adrenal tonic ready. You're sorted.
Got my throat spray, right?
Oh yes, awesome.
I was the guy. There was 2,000 people there, 2,500 people there, and I told you, like, so there's 2,400 people there. Is there someone there with the Delta variant? Yes, right? No doubt about it. So I'm like squirting this thing, everyone walking by. I'm like, hi, spraying them. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
That is pretty funny. Everyone needs to have a couple of those. The adrenal tonic they can only get from the office, right? They need to call though to get that one.
Then if they have our I can't, so we have a patient code, Karen. I can't give it out on a public setting like this, but if you've ordered from us before, just send us an email. And if you email us, I can give you a patient code. You can have direct access to the website, and you can get the adrenal tonic from there.
Okay, awesome, cool. I'll give you guys the throat spray just because we all need a bit more of that. All right, next question here. Is there a way to fight cavities naturally?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there definitely is. So let's talk about what causes them first. So cavities start with a pH imbalance in the mouth. Typically, that pH balance is too alkaline. So this is one of the scenarios where the mouth should be in that 7 range, like 7.2, like 7.0, 7.2 range. Much different than our gut, right? So our gut should be like at 2.0. And the reason it gets too alkaline is typically because of carbohydrates and sugar. We develop some level of candida, and the candida, the candida builds up, and you can see it on the tongue and stuff like that. But that pH starts to eat away at the enamel. And really what is taking place, the reason the eating away, and it is not accurate to say it that way, it inhibits the mineral absorption in the mouth. And your teeth have less minerals. You become deficient in the minerals that are in your teeth. That's what make up your teeth. So that is what's really taking place there. So, and then the enamel breaks down, and then we have an issue. So to reverse that, there's several things, and I've seen this work fantastic. And I have heard that you can't fix a cavity. Like most things, I like to test that theory. So.
Okay.
I'm fortunate. I don't have, any cavities or anything like that. And, but I've gone to the dentist, and they've taken x-rays, and they said, you have a cavity right here. And, we're just going to put a quick filling in it. No big deal, blah, blah, blah. And I've been like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm not telling people to do this. And I'm like, nah, I don't really feel like drilling into my teeth. This was when I was in my 30s. And I remember saying, no, I'm good. I'm going to roll this one out. I'm just going to see what happens. I didn't have any tooth pain or nothing. I was at a regular dental checkup. And sure enough, I just stopped going to dentists. Listen, I don't tell people to do this strategy. So I stopped going to the dentist after they told me I had a cavity. And I always had good oral, hygiene and flossing and brushing and all that stuff. So then years later, 8 years later, I went back to the dentist. And I know I'm not the only one here listening tonight.
Oh, you're not the only one.
So a simple show of hands would be pretty cool. Someone give me a little support. So I skipped the dentist. It's probably more like 10 years, and I go back. And I remember, because I used to it almost got my brain. I'm like, yeah, I think I feel that cavity. And I go back and I get some more x-rays done. And they're like, oh yeah, you got a cavity. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And they're like, it's up over here.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, how about down over there? And they're like, no, you're good.
Wow.
Interesting. So then, and then of course, in that time I wasn't even doing nutrition. I just didn't want to have anyone drilling in my mouth.
Wow.
So I was like, interesting. And I always knew that you know, the body's a self-healing mechanism, give what it takes. The body has this innate way of taking care of itself. And that was one of the things. We can heal bone. We know it. Teeth are bone.
Huh.
Bone all the time. What do we do? So then when I got more into nutrition, the guy who started Santa Process, this guy, Royal Lee, happened to be the dentist. And the dentist, by the way, used to have some of the, they were the cutting edge of nutrition because there were people looking in the mouth. So they were learning a lot faster. They're connecting. I see the tongue, I see the mouth, I see the vitality, etc. Anyways, so there's two things. I know I'm making this long story short. The answer is yes. I do believe that we can handle them. We got to clean up the diet. Sugar's got to go. That's been around forever. We got to get into vegetables. We got to get a lot of good, honest, good calcium through vegetables in the body. But I use two products that were very effective. One's called Bio-Dent. Bio-Dent is a raw veal bone product, right? It's similar to what was going on in that Cataplex C. That's one that I use. And then I use another one called Calcifood, the little wafers. And it's a biologically active enzyme of calcium. Those two together for 90 to about 120 days, the Bio-Dent, typically what I do, clean up the diet, use about 9 a day for the first 30 days. And then 6 a day, going forward from there. And then with the Calcifood, do 6 a day for the first 30 days. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers, 6 a day for the first 30 days, and then just do 4 a day onward. I've had some really good success with that. I wish more people would take this protocol and run with it because it's never really a good option to put metal in your teeth.
Yeah.
Really,
I love that we're talking about this actually, because personally, I don't know why I never thought that, why did I never think that we could? In the past, sounds silly now that I say it, but I guess we all do it. The dentist has said you need a cavity. I'm like, I guess I need a cavity. Yeah. Never really thought again that maybe it'd change. It can heal, it can come out and total. A lot of us, a lot of people still get amalgam fillings or have amalgam fillings that's, if you can try to heal some of them naturally, or at least give it a go, if you're not in any pain, sounds like a better option.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right on there. There's a lot of things I think we learn now. Are there some scenarios that some cavities are so decayed that they're going to need some assistance? And yeah. I'm sure is the case. Yet, knowing that we have to clean up the diet. So just having a good digestive enzyme so you can break your food down better. In there. So let me throw one more thing out here, that if you're really trying to fix a cavity and do some other stuff and clean up the candida in your mouth, is oil pulling. Okay. So this has been around for a while, and really what that means, Karen, this is great. If the audience hasn't tried this before, it reminds me, I got to do this again. I haven't done it in a long time. Oil pulling is literally taking a tablespoon of
coconut oil, right?
Coconut oil, yes.
Yeah.
Organic coconut oil, and it's going to be hard, right? So you put it in your mouth, and then you kind of chew it up to the point where it becomes a liquid in your mouth. And you're going to squish it around in your mouth and squish it around and squirt it around your mouth for 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
And that will pull all these toxins out of your mouth, kill off bacteria, killing off candida and all that kind of stuff. And then listen, you got to spit it out. Do not swallow that. It absolutely must be spit out, and then just rinse, use a light toothbrush with just a little bit of water, no toothpaste, and just get the rest of it out of there. Really, really good practice right there for antibacterial efforts. And that bacteria is typically what is causing it. Is, the bacteria is what causes that, deficiency in minerals and then a decay in the enamel.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I haven't done it in a really long time, so let's all make a commitment to give it a go by next week's show. Following up with the dentist, I've got a question. When I have x-rays done at the dentist, they know to use the neck collar on me. Do you agree that that's a good thing, or is there any benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. You're protecting your thyroid at that point. Okay. Yeah, I think great idea. I think having a good relationship with your dentist is very, very important. And I say that because, I still like to do a teeth cleaning here and there. I probably should do more than I do, or just, general check, and just like, where are you at? Then I make my decisions based on that. I have a great relationship with my dentist. My wife and I choose at this point, we no longer take x-rays unless they are what we would consider as required. Like, and what do I mean that?
You're in pain or got a symptom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know routine, and I'm not faulting for them. I love, they run their businesses the way that they run their business, but that's a standard protocol. We have a relationship with our dentist. I literally love him. He's a great man. He's a great community guy. And they know when we go in, we're not getting x-rays. Like, we had a quick, easy conversation in the beginning, and there was no like argument about it. Like, okay, that's cool. We'll take them if we need them. Yeah. So I really encourage, and listen, as practitioners, we work for you. Like,
that's a good one to remember. People do, they get scared to say what they want or what they think for their body. Yeah. When you go to a practitioner, you're paying them to do a service back for you.
Yeah. And I think that, Karen, that is lost in all of this, that practitioners, we work for you. Like, and you can hire and fire us at any time. And we need to be reminded. Like, we need to be reminded, man, I got fired today.
Yeah. What could I do better?
Yeah. I know I get fired all the time. Or at least I think I do. Like, when someone never shows up again. I assume that's kind of, and I know it's funny, but like, I'm at this point in my career, like, I always try to learn from that.
Yeah.
And I don't try to make it my way. I do what I do, so I don't try to walk a different lane. Or if what I do isn't right for that person, I'd gladly refer them. So like in my office, I don't take x-rays anymore, but I have plenty of my colleagues that I'll send it out to.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, we've gone a little bit over time, but we're going to do our last question. From everything we have talked about today, what's one action our listeners can take to move them towards their goal of becoming superhuman?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to foundations. Foundation to everything. Foundations in your relationships, in your health, in your wealth, all of the above. Go back and think about what got you to where you are with those things. Think about your relationships. Like foundationally, you probably courted your wife or were really nice to your husband. Those are like, go back to the foundations that got us to fall in love. Go back to, the foundations when it comes to health. This isn't rocket science. You got to eat right, got to sleep right, got to think right? We got to, get a little movement in our body. Same thing with our money. Like, I know it's not a money talk, but listen, if you spend it and waste it in life, then you probably don't respect it that much. So go back to the foundation, put a little bit in your pocket, and all that good stuff. So back to foundations. I think that's the best action. That was a big takeaway from my 4-day weekend. And that's my ending point tonight.
Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We will be back same time, same place next week for another episode of the Health Made Simple show.
You got it. Appreciate you guys for showing up every week. Keep doing your thing. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading the love. And of course, deliberate action for your mind, your body, your overall wellness. Y'all be awesome.